BBC News with Sue Montgomery. China has welcomed home the Huawei executive who spent 3 years under house arrest in Canada while fighting extradition to the United States. Minutes before Meng Wanzhou touched down at Shenzhen Airport, two Canadian men, Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig, who had been held by Beijing, were greeted by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on arriving home. They had apparently been used as bargaining chips in a dispute that's been called hostage diplomacy. Speaking at the airport shortly before they were reunited, Mr. Kovrig's wife, Vina Najibullah, described her feelings.
There are no words really to describe the emotions that have been going through all of us for the last 24 hours. Joy, relief, overwhelming gratitude for everyone who has worked to make this day happen.
But the coordinated releases have not fully resolved the animosity between the three countries. The Chinese Foreign Ministry has described the fraud charges against Ms. Meng as political persecution. German politicians have been making their final appeals to voters ahead of Sunday's parliamentary election. The frontrunner to succeed Angela Merkel, Olaf Scholz of the Social Democrats, took part in a town hall meeting. Earlier, the Christian Democrat candidate, Armin Laschet, flanked by Chancellor Merkel, addressed voters in Aachen. Jenny Hill reports.
Under Armin Laschet, the CDU has lost its lead and is now behind the Social Democrat Party. The gap has narrowed in recent days. One poll suggests there's just a single percentage point between them. But the idea that the Social Democrat candidate Olaf Scholz could take the chancellery from her Conservatives was enough to make Mrs. Merkel rethink her vow to stay out of the campaign. At today's rally, she made one final appeal to the electorate. It's thought a quarter of voters have yet to make up their mind.
Haiti's Prime Minister Ariel Henry has told the UN that people from his country will continue to try to seek better living conditions for their families, despite the deportation this week of about 2,000 Haitians from the US-Mexico border. He said countries had the right to control access to their territory, but migration to prosperous nations would carry on.
Ce problème des migrants doit nous rappeler.
This problem of migrants must remind us that human beings, fathers and mothers, will always flee misery and conflict and seek to find better living conditions for their children. Migration will continue as long as there are areas of prosperity on our planet, while most of the world population lives in precariousness, sometimes extreme, with no prospect of a better life.
The Taliban say they have shot dead 4 alleged kidnappers and hung their bodies in public in the Afghan city of Herat. The deputy governor of Herat said displaying them was done to deter further abductions. BBC News. A former Rwandan army colonel accused of directing the massacre of some 800,000 ethnic Tutsis and moderate Hutus in the 1994 genocide has died in prison in Mali. Theoneste Bagosora was serving a 35-year sentence after being found guilty of crimes against humanity by the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda. He was 80 years old and reported to be seriously ill with heart trouble. The Sudanese oil minister says protesters have blocked a crucial pipeline that carries crude oil from Port Sudan to the capital Khartoum. The disruption is affecting another pipeline used for exporting crude from neighbouring South Sudan. The minister said routes in and out of the port's export terminal had been completely blocked. The protesters are from the Beja tribe, angered by a peace deal from which they were excluded. The Somali Prime Minister Mohamed Roble has condemned the suicide car bombing in Mogadishu that's killed at least 8 people, including his advisor on women's and human rights issues. Police and witnesses said the vehicle exploded at a checkpoint near the presidential palace, hitting a convoy of vehicles heading there. A Somali police spokesman explained what had happened.
Terrorists have not only attacked soldiers and government offices, but they have also killed a mother and her 2 children who were visiting the vaccination center here.
The Islamist movement Al-Shabaab says it carried out the attack, its latest in government-controlled areas. Stars including Billie Eilish and Stevie Wonder are performing in a 24-hour music extravaganza to raise awareness of climate change, vaccine inequality and famine. The Global Citizen Life Festival is taking place across the world, with Ed Sheeran in Paris, Jennifer Lopez in New York and Stevie Wonder in Los Angeles. It's billed as one of the biggest global charity events ever. BBC News.